Peace and blessings to all of you. My name is Dicky Sofjan. I'm from the Indonesian Consortium for Religious Studies based in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. I'd like to thank the organizer, more specifically to Mr. Jan Figel and Professor Alberto Meloni. I was just with Mr. Jan Figel a week ago at the G20 Interfaith Forum, and I was a visiting professor at the Foundation for Religious Sciences in Bologna just in February, and also attending the Academy of Religion conferences there. So I've been tasked to talk about the Indonesian model. Now, I'm not quite sure whether Indonesia can actually become a role model for other countries, but you can't imagine how many times I've been asked, or Indonesians have been asked to speak more about our country. More specifically with the Americans and also the European officials whom I engage quite a bit, both in Indonesia, also in Brussels. So I'm going to talk more about how the Indonesian sort of model works and operates. But I'd just like to talk a little bit about my own institution. It's called the Indonesian Consortium for Religious Studies. So it's a consortium of 3 universities based in Yogyakarta. I'm coming from the non-confessional university, which is the largest in Indonesia with 68,000 students and 2,500 professors and lecturers. And then we work together with the Islamic University and also the Christian University to offer a PhD program on interreligious studies. We have students from America, from Colombia, Gambia, Korea, India, Philippines, Myanmar, Vietnam, and so on and so forth. We started off in 2006 and starting to receive students in 2007. We have around 44 PhD graduates right now in many different countries. These are some of the students coming from Indonesia, and these are some of the students coming from overseas. We have 3 major sort of components, that's comparative hermeneutics, the social history of religions, and also religion and contemporary issues. These are just some of our research dissertations done by our students. And this is one of our flagship research program on religion, public policy, and social transformation in Southeast Asia in 9 countries. That's 8 countries in Southeast Asia and the United States of America. And these are just some of our collaborative research program that we have been conducting for the past 4 to 5 years. And this is the thing that our good moderator mentioned about the prototype system which I'm developing with my team on the Indonesian Interfaith Weather Station. And these are just some of the things that we have been doing and engaging with the youths in Indonesia. And this is our more recent religious literacy program, which I'll explain later on, and I have a video which would give you a sense of what our religious literacy is like. We have been working with the Minister of Religious Affairs. In Indonesia, we are perhaps one among very few countries of the world which has a Minister of Religious Affairs. It's one of the biggest ministries in Indonesia, and we have been working with its research and development together with its Center for Interfaith. This is just one of our activities, which is the International Symposium on Religious Life, which I happened to head the previous year. So the Indonesian model, what is it? So as you probably have heard, that Indonesia is based on the state ideology called Pancasila. These 4 things are what we consider the 4 pillars of our nation right now. So we have this state ideology of Pancasila, which means 5 principles. We have the 1945 Constitution, more specifically on religious freedom, is enshrined in chapters 28 and 29. And then we have what's called the sanctity of the unitary state of Indonesia, because Indonesia is a highly fragmented country with 17,000 islands, with 500 languages and 700 dialects and all. And we have what's called the National Motto of Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is like the American version of the Pluralism, which means really unity and multiplicity. Now the term agama in our constitution is mentioned 12 times, and it specifically talks about the espousal of religious values by the heads of states who are selected as a president and vice president. and also how the decentralization and regional autonomy has sort of influenced the management of religion in the provinces and districts. And then we have the religious courts, which is really the family courts. And then we have stipulations on religious freedom and worship. And then lastly is on the espousal of religious conviction as part of human rights. So these are the two main stipulations in our constitution which guarantees the freedom of religion and worship. Now in terms of human dignity, this is somewhat new, but apparently in our constitution we have 4 mentions of the term dignity, which can be translated as both harkat manusia and also martabat manusia, which looks at the dignity of the judges, which is monitored by the Judicial Commission, and also the individual right to dignity, and also the setting up of social safety net to ensure human dignity for the underprivileged and the poor. Now, in 1998, of course, with the dethronement of President Suharto, who governed Indonesia for more than 32 years, we have had a lot of changes in our state and society. We have 4 times constitutional amendments. We now have a true multi-party system. Unlike before, we had a 1.5-party system with Golkar, the ruling party as being the sort of predominant political party. And then we have a decentralization, regional autonomy law, which gives a lot of power to the regional provinces and districts. And of course, we also have the direct election of local heads, governors, mayors, and also the president. And then we had the media liberalization law, so you can basically just wake up one morning and say, I want to become a journalist, without having to have any sort of certification or anything. And then we have the Human Rights Law, which was ratified, and a Reform Society Act, which was sort of a renewed commitment to democratic reform at the social level. Now, Indonesia, being a Pancasila state, is neither a secular nor a theological state. So we are sort of in between a religious and a secular state. Yeah? So these are just some of the legal frameworks that we have pertaining to religion, which have consequences to the practice and worship of religion. We also have recently the anti-terrorism law and the information and electronic transaction, which talks more about hoax and social hostilities, which I'll talk more about when we deal with the issues of sectarianism. And then we are still sort of confronting this problem because we still have a draconian law which was ratified in 1965, which was ratified during the purge of the communists. And this law specifically is on misuse and the defamation of religion. So it is this law which has been contested by some elements in society and have undergone 3 failed attempts at judicial review by the more progressive elements in society. Now, there is a Center for Interfaith Harmony within the Ministry of Religious Affairs, which promotes interreligious harmony in the country. So we have what's called Interreligious Harmony Forum at the provincial level and district level, and also sub-district levels. They're given a tiny amount of budget allocation, but much of their resources are coming from the local governments and also members of society. This is the extent of the power of the Ministry of Religious Affairs. So if you can see that it's the 3rd largest ministry. If you include the police department, then it becomes number 4, which stands at 73 trillion. But the Ministry of Religious Affairs is along the lines of, perhaps in US dollars, is, how much is that? 4 billion US dollars per year. Now, this is one map which some people often forget, that most Muslims do not live in the Middle East. They live in Asia Pacific, and Indonesia is the largest Muslim country. And we have 2 major organizations called the Nahdlatul Ulama and the Muhammadiyah. they are called, what we would term as the social anchors in the Indonesian society, so providing guidance and advice to the Muslim community. And they've been around even prior to the establishment of the Republic of Indonesia. Of late, we have the Majlis Ulama Indonesia, which is sort of a quasi-representation of the many Muslim communities and that provides fatwas on issues that are confronting the society. Now, for those who have gone to Indonesia, we have what's called the total notion of the Indonesian Islam, which basically is an amalgamation of religion and culture, where we have what President Abdurrahman Wahid would call the indigenization of Islam, where the fusion between religion and culture can really be seen quite vividly there. And this is, of course, oftentimes juxtaposed to what we call the Arabization of Islam, and more disparagingly called the misguided Arabism that is oftentimes suffered by the Indonesian Muslims, and I'm sure some of the Muslim communities, the non-Arab Muslim communities in other countries are facing the same kind of thing. But the other issue is this compatibility between Islam and democracy, that we do not see any contradictions between the notion of shura, consultation, deliberation with the principles of democracy. But after Reformasi, we are seeing also a sort of a reverse trend in the religious development. So we are seeing what's called a conservative turn now, with more identity politics being played out in society, in politics, in party politics, and there's much more sort of religious mobilization on issues that are very sensitive politically speaking. As you probably have heard, that this was the mass demonstration against the first Christian Chinese governor of Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. One thing that we often forget is that, as times are changing, the religious congregation is also changing, and this is happening also in Indonesia with the penetration of the internet and social media. And 3/4 of our population is between the ages perhaps of 15 and 35, and so you are really dealing with digital natives here, right? So people who are born with social media accounts and Facebook and so on. Unlike us, we are what we call digital migrants, because we migrated from the non-digital world to the digital world, and really having some problems there. But Indonesia is also the biggest, one of the biggest countries in terms of account holders for Facebook, for Twitter and Instagram, so we are quite visible in the social world, and I think religious authorities aren't very savvy when it comes to the social media, and this is one of the things that we need to work on in terms of the religious literacy that I will be talking to you later on about. But in the internet and social media, we are also seeing, of course, the digital dividends of the internet and social media, but we're also seeing a lot of digital ills, a lot of propaganda, a lot of agitation, bullying, hoaxes, and fake news and alternative facts and so on and so forth, which is really happening anywhere and everywhere. So I guess it's also a question which religious communities and leaders ought to question themselves. How do we deal with this trend in the internet and social media world? I'll just give you one example of the sort of anti-Shia sentiment which came out right after the war in Syria around 2011-2012, where there was a lot of negative propaganda, a lot of hoaxes and alternative facts about the Syrian war, about Bashar al-Assad and all the other dynamics going on. And the Majlis Ulama was also implicated in some of these propaganda, and as you can see, that these are just some of the banners that were put up in front of some masjids, which are basically stating that Shiism is not part of Islam. And here, this is quite curious, because this This is a very large banner which we found right before the day of Ashura, which is the commemoration of the killing of Imam Hussein. And this was just planted right in front of the biggest public hospital in Yogyakarta, which is supposedly called the City of Tolerance. This is the excommunication of the Shia community in Sampang, in Madura. And the guy standing next to me is the head of the Shia community, who are then excommunicated together with his followers, and they have now been living in this very modest apartment buildings in East Java for the past 7 years, and over 2 presidencies we have not been able to resolve this issue with the minoritization of the Shias. Now, some of the plausible explanation for this sort of conservative turn and this sort of radical turn towards intolerance is that, of course, the truth claims and historical contentions. There are many debates as to, what is the true Islam in Indonesia, whether it's Sunnism, Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, or did Shiism really come to the shores of Southeast Asia and Indonesia even prior to the spread of Sunni Islam, for instance. But we're also facing this issue of dictatorship of authenticity. Yeah, so there's a lot of this issue about which is more authentic, Sunni Islam or Shia Islam. But we know with the internet, social media, that the religious authority is undergoing fragmentation. Right? So people are no longer, young millennials are no longer studying religion of Islam in the mosque or with the ustads and with the ulama, but they are learning how to recite the Quran from YouTube, and getting inspiration from celebrity ustads and asatiza from Facebook, social media, the internet, and so on and so forth. And so there are a number of plausible explanations which we can, but one of the things which interests me is this sort of the negative spillover effect of the regional contention and competition between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and we have witnessed this for the past at least 9 to 10 years now, that with the so-called, what Bani Asr calls the political ascendancy of the Shia Islam in the Middle East, that we are seeing some apparent insecurity and negative consequences in Southeast Asia and Indonesia. The same thing with Malaysia to a certain extent as well. We are also currently doing a research on the dialectics of religious freedom and religious harmony, because in the Indonesian context, there is a lot of emphasis on religious harmony as opposed to religious freedom. So one of my research questions right now is, why is that? Why do we Indonesians think that religious harmony is more important than religious freedom? So there's been a lot of investment going into religious harmony in Indonesia, but then there's also a lot of absence of the state when it comes to the protection of religious freedom. So these are just some of the cases that we have seen. The guy here is Alexander Aan. He is an atheist from West Sumatra, and he developed this Facebook group called Ateis Minang. And for Indonesians, they have never been able to conceive this idea that the people of Minang, which is in West Sumatra, can be an atheist. They think that all Minangs are Muslim, like all Sundanese are Muslim, and so on. And this is a Buddhist lady who complained of the volume of the mosque, and who was then made the charge in court for defamation of Islam. Of course, when we talk about religious freedom, we also need to think about the restrictions and the sort of dilemmas that we face in terms of freedom of speech. Where does freedom of speech begin, and where does freedom of hate or hate speech begin? So this is just one hypothesis that I'm thinking about. So the dialectics between religious freedom and harmony. So in terms of where we are, of course in many, if you look at the literature on religion and democracy or Islam and democracy, there is this argument, of course, about the democratic deficit among the Muslim nations, both in, more specifically in the Middle East. So Indonesia has become somewhat an anomaly with respect to this democratic deficit. But then there is also genuine public cynicism toward democracy. You know, they say that democracy will not die through an assassination in the middle of the night, you know, in the cover of darkness, but democracy will die through a slow death through cynicism, through public cynicism. We are also seeing a decline of progressive faith-based organizations, like the decline of the Nahdlatul Ulama and the Muhammadiyah. We are quite worried about this, and we need to sort of strengthen their capacity and competency, at least in terms of how they respond to the rise of the digital age, of internet, social media, the hoaxes and negative propaganda, and so on and so forth. We are still seeing this minoritization of non-mainstream groups, and I'm using minoritization here really strategically because, you know, in a democratic setting, in my mind, we should try to do away with this sort of false categorization of majority and minority, because that should be irrelevant in any democratic you know, setting. And so, but I do use the term minoritization because I think that is a more accurate depiction of you know, the politics that goes on in marginalization of non-mainstream religious groups. Now, the issue is also religious illiteracy, and we are seeing this as well in Myanmar, yeah, with the persecution of the Rohingyas and so on, which some of my Myanmar friends have been saying that this is also based on religious illiteracy. So the scant knowledge that people have of the religious others, and that creates that insecurity and sense of suspicion. So our religious literacy is focused on four main themes. That's religion and us, religion and society, religion and the state, and religion and the internet. And this program targets primarily the religious counselors or the extension officers of the Ministry of Religious Affairs. We have around 115,000 spread across the country in 34 provinces and 400 and something districts, but also targeting the religion teachers. See, one of the things that we found out was that apparently our religion teachers are more intolerant than our members of society. In fact, there is like 63.7% of our religion teachers or teachers who are or who have been exposed to radical thinking and narratives. So this is some of the things that we are on about. We'd like to add more themes to it, like religion and human rights and religion and the environment. Now, because I have 2 more minutes, I'll just show you one very short video of our religious literacy, and hopefully you can, if you can turn off the lights for just 2 minutes, I think that would also help if you could. But I'll just turn on the video here.